The 1920s were a crazy time filled with innovation, dance, fashion, and joy. There's also quite a bit of hatred and controversy to go around. It was not so much unlike today. Because of that, we're going to take a look week by week at what was happening 100 years ago and compare it to today, here on the 20s in the 20s. On Sunday, the Morgenthau Report was released to the public, summarizing the findings of the mission of the United States to Poland. Chaired by diplomat Henry Morgenthau Sr., most well known for his ambassador position and analysis of the Ottoman Empire during World War I, the report, which had been delivered to President Wilson on October 3rd, confirmed that mobs in Poland had killed 252 Polish Jews in pogrom since becoming independent in 1918, but it found no proof that the Polish government had been involved, or that the number of deaths had been in the thousands. Antisemitism was certainly growing in a big way in the 1920s, culminating in the Holocaust. 100 years later, it has not only survived, it has thrived, with a recent rise in this sentiment in European and American countries, heavily spread by the use of the internet. You'll find that many still support anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, such as the idea that 9/11 was a secret Jewish plot committed by Israel and the US. On the same day, Pollyanna, a silent film that marked the start of Mary Pickford's career, was released to theaters nationwide. The film went on to gross the current day equivalent of $14,039,000. While this was good back then, and I would happily accept this kind of payout for one of my videos, you can see how far we've come since then, considering Avengers Endgame made 4 times this amount on just its Thursday night release. On Monday, the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, was founded. The ACLU is a not-for-profit organization founded to, quote, defend and preserve the individual rights and liberties guaranteed to every person in this country, the U.S., by the Constitution and laws of the United States. It has been a hallmark organization in the defense of the rights of people in America, including the right to burn the flag in terms of free speech, the civil rights movement, the right to free speech as a whole, and the fight against President Trump's so-called Muslim ban, among other things.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
On Tuesday, former White Forces commander Alexander Kolchak, after being defeated by the Bolshevik army in the Russian Civil War, was surrendered by the White Army authorities at Irkutsk. The Bolsheviks placed him on trial the next day and would execute him on February 7th. That same day, the League of Nations Council voted to deliver an ultimatum to Yugoslavia, giving the government 4 days to comply with the Pact of London by allowing Italy to occupy the Adriatic seaport of Fiume. The pact had been made with Italy in World War I to bring Italy onto the side of the Allied powers in the war against the Central Powers of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. On Wednesday, the Battle of Maraş began as the Turkish National Forces besieged the former Ottoman city of Maraş in order to reclaim it from the occupying French army, the French Armenian Legion, and French Senegalese troops from Africa. After 3 weeks, the French army would flee the city, leaving most of the 20,000 Armenians behind to be killed. It's important to remember that as the Anatolian Peninsula was being occupied by Allied forces at the time, the Turkish Republic was rising to overthrow the Ottoman Empire and claim independence. Turkey celebrated its 100th anniversary last year in May. Back in the US, Mississippi became the first US state to decline to ratify the proposed 19th Amendment, providing the right for American women to vote. In the House of Representatives, only 25 were in favor, while 106 were against the ratification. On March 22, 1984, almost 64 years later, Mississippi would become the last state to pass its resolution to ratify. Oh, Mississippi, what you doing? Also on Wednesday, Mexico granted tentative permits to U.S. oil companies for oil exploration and drilling to be made permanent after the elections in July. We are still renewing and evaluating these agreements today as oil drilling has only become more popular, and Mexico is one of the top oil producers in the world today. On Thursday, the Australian Country Party, known as ACP and now called the National Party of Australia, was formed by 9 members of parliament who had supported the policies of the Australian Farmers Federal Organisation. On Friday, the Netherlands announced that it would not allow the extradition of former Kaiser of Germany, Wilhelm II, citing both its tradition of not surrendering political fugitives and the fact that it was not a party to the League of Nations Treaty. The Republic of the Ukraine signed a treaty with Russia recognizing the Bolshevik government in return for withdrawal of their troops and providing for a resumption of trade between the two nations. Back again in the U.S., in California, construction of the Gibraltar Dam was completed in Santa Barbara County, damming the Santa Ynez River and creating the Gibraltar Reservoir that supplies fresh water to the metropolitan area in Southern California. The dam has seen several revitalization projects and continues to supply the local public with water, bringing new meaning to the phrase, a damn long time. And on Saturday, Germany began the evacuation of their troops from Danzig, Upper Silesia, and Schleswig in compliance with the Treaty of Versailles. Control of the German territories was released to a multinational force of the League of Nations. And that'll do it for this week's review of the 1920s here in the 2020s. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new today. As always, I appreciate your checking in and would appreciate any feedback, resources, or suggestions you might have. Go ahead and throw those in the comments below or shoot them over to me on Twitter. And I will see you in the next video next week.